Chapter 2. The Shadow of Grindelwald. In the depths of the Rivendell, shadows were not merely the absence of light. They had form, weight, and will. And of all these shadows, the most fearsome was the shadow of Grindelwald. The Ogre Lord, the absolute master of the Rivendell, was not just a giant warrior, but a living force, turning the air into fear and every leaf into a whisper of warning. His every step resounded like thunder. His every breath seemed to shake the roots of the trees, and his yellow eyes cast an inner light that never went out. Grindelwald had not always been the cruelest of the ogres. He was just a strong leader, renowned for his courage in the hunt and his ability to lead the Stone Beast clan. But as the years passed and his power accumulated, his heart grew dark, and his desire for dominance turned into an almost insatiable thirst. The entire forest felt this dense energy, a vibration of evil, spreading from the hidden rocks in the depths, through the thick roots and through the steams that rose from the hidden swamps. Grindelwald's rule was not based on fleeting fear. It was a continuous fear, an unseen pact between him and those who accepted his authority. Ogres of all clans respected their leader not only for his physical strength, but for his ability to weave fear and loyalty at the same time. Anyone who dared to face his fury quickly discovered that Grindelwald's shadow was far more dangerous than his fangs or his arms.It was a shadow that followed them, that felt their thoughts and that struck their spirit even before their bodies were harmed. Grindenel had a simple and clear goal: the conquest of both realms. The ragged forest was just the beginning, a solid base of brute force, but his gaze stretched beyond the abyss, to the enchanted land, with clear rivers and forests full of light. In his heart, the desire to bring that world under his rule was pure and ruthless. He did not seek gratuitous destruction. He wanted order after his own kind, an order in which the ragged forest would be the center of power and the enchanted forest would be merely a territory of submission. Each morning, Grindelwald began by rousing his army. The clans gathered in circles of stone and roots, listening to the rhythm of his stride. His eyes shone beneath his massive horns, and his voice echoed like thunder through the forest. Today, the ragged forest will show our power, not just for the clan, but for me. No one will dare to rule us. No one will laugh at our shadows anymore. His speech was not just speech, it was a spell. The ogres felt their muscles tighten, their blood heat up, and their rage become synchronized with their leader's desire. Each the clan had a well-established role. The stone beasts were the guardians of the stables and the strongest fighters. The ℕ𝕦𝕤𝕚 clan brought the strategy and pride of the ruling family. The fire horns forged weapons, the grey wolves handled hunting and infiltration, and the night eaters watched the abyss and threw down alarms with venom and smoke. The day began with rigorous training. Every ogre, from the youngest to the oldest with cracked horns, had to demonstrate his strength. Heavy axes were lifted to exhaustion, beast hammers were thrown at tree trunks and boulders, and the giant horses, the ℕ𝕦𝕤𝕚𝕚, were forced to run through swamps and natural obstacles. Grindenel did not forgive mistakes. Any hesitation was punished with extra work, and his cold, yellowish gaze penetrated in the souls of the weak. But work was not the only manifestation of his rule. Grindenel was also a master of intimidation. He sent his spies, often from the Night Eater clan, to observe the elves and analyze the forest beyond the chasm. He was fascinated by the idea that the light of the enchanted land was vulnerable to its shadows. Even though the invisible bridge appeared only to pure souls, Grindenel sought ways to penetrate there with his army, to test the limits of magic and find weaknesses. The ogre's lunch was a ritual of power in the heart of the Rivendell, around the great fires. All the clans gathered. Raw or steaming meat, bitter roots and beast blood had been gathered since the morning. Grindenel always sat in the center, and the others surrounded him, biting noisily and sipping with the thirst for violence that defined the ogres. Every gesture of the leader was tinged with a sense of respect mixed with fear. No ogre could look at him without his permission, and any hesitation could be labeled as betrayal. But Grindelwald's shadow was not just a physical force, it was also a psychological shadow. A constant presence that shaped the thoughts and behaviors of everyone around him. Deep down, Grindelwald saw himself not just as a lord of the Rivendell, but as the future ruler of both worlds. And this vision pushed him to be ruthless, calculating, and prepared to make any sacrifice, to crush any enemy, be it an ogre or a human or goblin. The darkness of the forest seemed to grow thicker when Grindelwald was present. It was not just the trees or the mists that reacted. The entire Rivendell seemed to tense its roots, raise its leaves, prepare its natural traps, as if it knew that its master was preparing for conquest. Wild animals, even the most fierce, fled at the sight of the ogres, and two-headed wolves or giant boars obeyed without hesitation. As the day progressed, Grindelwald's plans became clearer. He did not want to simply cast his shadows over the enchanted land, but to bring submission and terror, to turn light into a dungeon and harmony into fear. Every exercise, every hunt, every meal was a step towards the conquest of his dream, for the Rivendell to dominate and control the bridge. Invisible and the elves to become mere shadows trembling before his might. But despite his thirst for power and brutality, Grindelwald was not just a mindless monster, he was a consummate strategist, who knew that a direct confrontation with the elves could be risky. He observed, planned and prepared the ground for the right moment, knowing that power lies not only in strength, but also in anticipation and the manipulation of fear. And Grindelwald's shadow stretched across the forest, a presence that could not be avoided and that enveloped everything in a wave of terror, waiting for the moment when his dream of conquest would become reality. Thus ended a day in Grindelwald's reign, a day when fear, power, and ambition intertwined, a day when the Rivendell pulsed under the control of the most powerful ogre, and the shadows gathered to wait the next step towards the enchanted land. Grindelwald's shadow was not just visible. It was inevitable, a presence that promised that any tale of light and peace would be tested by the terror of the Rivendell.